There we go. Looks great.
All right, awesome. Yeah, my name is Larissa Pfleeger-Ritzman. I work for the Shoalwater Bay Tribe in Tokeland, Washington. We're on the coast in Southwest Washington, and just talking today about kind of our history of what we've been dealing with green crab, and what we've learned and what we think is going to happen in the future. So this is just an overview of tribal lands in Willapa. The reservation is quite small. It was actually only about 600 acres. And then the rest of it's been acquired over the years and is in either fee or trust at the moment. And we do have some aquatic feds you can see throughout Willapa Bay too, which makes this problem a little bit more difficult to handle since they're so far. And zoom in on the right side is what we're looking at, like just kind of the area around Tokeland proper. So in the community more, those are the areas that we mainly are accessing right now, just on foot. And yeah, so Willapa Bay in this area, at least green crab were detected here in about 1998, I believe. Not in super high numbers. I think it was in the 500s, it looked like. I don't know the methodologies that they were trapping with in the 90s. I'm assuming it was fukui traps and minnows, probably maybe some pitfall traps too. So they obviously had them observed every year, at least it looks like from some DFW historical data that they had detections. I didn't know about it when I started here in 2012. And we didn't hear anything else about the rediscovery or I guess higher increase in detections in 2015. So Sea Grant was who reached out to us in 2020 about establishing a Sentinel site. So we started that project in the fall of 2020 and then did a few bigger pushes for trapping. So that's why it's 400 traps. And we had, about 2,000 green crab. Didn't really think that it was extremely high based on some of the other information we were getting. And so 2021, we gradually trapped and increased a little bit more and ended the year at 5,965, but over 4,500 of those, I think, were just in about a 2-month period in November and October. So we knew we had a much higher number, I think, because typically your numbers are going to be highest in the middle of the summer is what we learned too. So after we had that high pulse in the fall, our council decided to also declare an emergency for it, just for funding and just for kind of going alongside what Lummi had done and what the state was doing. So in 2022, which is our first full year of trapping, we set 2,245 traps and removed 42,708 green crab from just in our area around Tokeland. So far this year, we're on a higher trajectory than 2022 also in removal numbers. That's what we've trapped, I think, as of a couple of weeks ago, 650 traps and 5,185 crab. So the area is a pretty stressed environment as it is. We have had a lot of historical invasions and have current non-native and native species that are kind of overpowering the bay. A lot of this mud, like you see here on this pot, which is I think there's 118 in that pot. Yeah. It's tough to walk in. It's a tough environment. You can see my other staff member there fording across the, the tidal channel. That was super safe. So we have a pretty interesting area. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that we're trapping in. Rocky terrain like that around the marina. We flip rocks over and there'll be crab underneath them. The mud flats like this area on the left with the crab pot. And then some other higher intertidal in size channels that you can see there also. Play that one more time so you can see it. And that's just a basic shrimp pot that we use more often. This is just kind of, the types of trapping that we do. Our protocol right now is we set and retrieve pots about 2 hours before and after a low tide is our window for setting and retrieving. And we only try to set things for 24 hours. I think we had a couple of times where we've had to do longer sets because of weather usually, or just tides that didn't behave. Obviously water depth, since we're all by land and on foot, we don't set when there's a lot of water to come through. It's just too difficult and too unsafe at the moment. So we can trap at high tide if we have access to an airboat, which we have an airboat on order. So it should be here, hopefully the end of next month is what they're telling us now. I think we ordered it in October. So we're just waiting for that to happen so that we can kind of expand our trapping timing wise and areas that we can access also. So what we did do initially when we started this in 2020 was the Fukui pots, which is the one in the middle, the collapsible Promars, I think is what they are. My dog's digging a hole in my office behind me. Hey, Rip, lie down. You heard that noise, that's a dog. And they would work, but actually what we found, because we have such a high population, we would collapse those traps, the entry points, because the weight was too much, and they would fill up with dungees too, which made them also not that effective. So we tried some other methods because we were cheap and looking at things. We tried modifying oyster bags that we'd find on the beach. So that's on the thing on the left, we'd add a funnel into it, and then just some weight and line, and they do work, effective for small scale stuff. And we wouldn't catch a lot in those, but they were just an easy way to get out there and throw more pots on the ground without having the cost associated with buying the shrimp pots that we use now, which are about, I don't think they run about 90. And then we have a couple other ones that we had made that run about 190 to 220 to use. So we've tested almost every kind of pot that you could find, probably fraybills, minnows, crawdads, you see the list there. So, and Fukui traps, yeah, they're effective, and sometimes I think they're still used in the Sentinel protocol, but we don't use those anymore, just for our general trapping. And we don't use minnows unless we are targeting an area, if we think there are maybe young of the year present. But we do catch down to, I think, 34 millimeter young of the year crab in our shrimp pots with the 1 inch square. And so that's what we use now, because you can see after we set all those traps, the catch and the amount of crabs that we were getting, our CPUE, our percentage for that was just so high with shrimp pots. And we're more in a time of just eradicating as much as we possibly can. So our target is to be as efficient as possible. So we're just using shrimp pots now for the most part. I mean, I think there is on occasion the need to use a few different types. Yeah, so right now, this is what our gear setup currently looks like. And our office all the time is full of pots of crabs. Those flex buckets are amazing if you're doing work in the field. They're just handier to stack than your basic inflexible 5-gallon buckets. The duck sled, since we're working on areas that we can't take a rolling gorilla cart out there. They've tried to get me to buy them a motorized one, and I said, no, that's not cost effective. You're just going to tip it over and get mad at it. So it's just all on foot, dragging these pots and crab around with us. Our shrimp pots are from Willapa Marine, although we have other ones right now that we purchased from McKay, and they're up in the Sound by Brennan, I believe. Blue steel polyline, gillnet buoys is what we put on the end of ours, and they're all tagged with ear tags that have our phone number, our name, and it says European green crab on, I think, or EGC, so DFW. Hopefully the public doesn't mess with them. The public does once in a while. We've lost a few pots. They've actually tied like 3 of them together before and tossed them out. We've only lost 1 pot, I believe, because of either it was, I think we think it's buried and attached to some pilings that we couldn't get out. So they tried to cut it free, but it just got stuck in there. And bait, most of the time we're inheriting our sardines, but we have tried everything under the sun. If we have it, we use it. Why not? So yeah, salmon, sablefish, clams, ghost shrimp, freezer burnt game the guys have brought to the office or something. So that's really handy for us. This modified crab hook on about 100 feet of polyline for catching pots if it's too deep, because obviously you can see when you lose something out here, if you can't get in the water and they don't want to go swimming, we have to throw the hook at it. This is kind of a peak from 2022. Most of these next couple graphs is just showing the numbers that we've captured. The smallest crab that we've had was a 44 last year, although I think this year we've had a 38. So we have young of the year reproducing and can document that. And we do get our pulse of gravids about right now. It peaks in March and April, which is also the time when we're capturing the lowest amount of females. And then I'll show you on the next graph kind of how they kind of, the males and the females, the numbers kind of run together. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead one, hang on, and show you that. So you can see on this graph on both of these are showing males and female comparisons, but how the numbers are so drastically different early in the season. In January through May, we see a huge disparity in the number of males and females, and then they even out through August and the fall, and we're pretty closely correlated with the same numbers. So yeah, we'll catch, or I think that's 3,987 males, and we had 3,700 females in October. So they're pretty different. But then like March, last year in March, we had 1,293 males captured to 146 females. And right now, I think we're running like 6% of the females we remove are gravid at the moment. So, I mean, it's a pretty high percentage of what we're capturing. Play that while I'm talking. So a few of our biggest concerns right now is data sovereignty. There's a lot going on in the world of green crab in Washington and in other states, as Alaska, California, and Oregon are kind of trying to, it seems, get a more organized, concerted effort going forward on control. I've heard a lot of conversations saying that they wish in these other states that they'd taken a more aggressive, proactive approach early on. And Washington is doing that now. And working on organizing and being consistent across, because I think that's one of the biggest problems is that the best available practice aren't being used consistently across all sites and all states. If we're removing a lot of green crab in Washington, but Oregon's not, then we're not going to really make a huge dent in our problem. It's just going to be a perpetual issue. What we've seen with deer, kind of to bring it back to a targeted area, our shrimp pots that we're buying are actually too small for a lot of these larger adult male green crab to get into, which is the 90 millimeter and above. And that's what this one's doing. He's trying to get in, but he's like, no, I'm going to give up and go back out. Pot security, always an issue. This is an unsecured area and we can't secure it. It's just difficult to ask the public to stay off of things. Tides obviously is a big issue for us around here. Manpower, hunting season, my staff tend to disappear. So that's a problem probably for a lot of places, but they always disappear when it's the highest number of crab we're capturing. So yeah. Airboats coming. So that'll make us much more mobile. Thank you to the BIA for allowing that to be a purchase in our invasive funding. Funding is another issue. BIA obviously it's a target and a priority right now for invasive European green crab to be funded. A lot of work's going on behind the scenes to do that. We're always looking at other opportunities to try to find long-term perpetual funding, because that's going to be the thing that this is probably not going to be ending anytime soon. I mean, it's an integrated pest management approach now, so you're always going to be out there. The costs are going to be higher as your catch gets lower. I mean, that's always going to be a problem moving forward, I think. Things we don't know that there hasn't been a lot of research or even past research done, I don't think, is the impacts to Dungeness around here. I mean, if we've removed 100,000 green crab just with 3 entities in Willapa Bay in the last year, there's no way we've even touched the whole population. And then you don't know what that impact is as a trickle down approach either throughout the whole ecosystem. So yeah, eelgrass, the food webs, burrowing shrimp. Larval transport's another thing. I think Alaska had said that they were getting crab from Oregon and Washington. We're getting crab obviously from Oregon and the Salish Sea, probably here where we are. So a lot of consistent trapping. If that's not happening on outside areas, then there is no way to, I guess, have an impact or kind of slow the spread of this and keep the population in check. It probably shouldn't. I use the word eradication. I know some folks don't like using it, but I think from the perspective of the growers and the aquaculture community, that is their target. I think the tribe, I mean, to get it down to a level where it's manageable, but I don't even know what that really looks like, because we don't know what the impacts are to the ecosystem as it is. So it's kind of a difficult thing to quantify right now, moving forward. On these graphs, to take a look at them a little bit closer. The smallest that we've captured is in the 17 to 24 millimeter range, and usually only by hand. But our shrimp pots do capture young deer to 38 to 35 millimeters. this is the look at the gravids, or no, this is just catch rates over the last couple of years. The photo on the right is all the gravids from last year. I think I froze them and put them on the floor and took a photo. So you can see, yeah, exponentially we've just increased our skills. So and created more work for my department. So they're, yeah, it's, the guys like doing it. I mean, at least you can see the results of your hard work when they're out there doing stuff. Yeah, that's a weekly CPU graph for all of the main 4 sites in Toblin that we do the most often. And you can see down there on the left, Dan Fagerly and WSU Extension helped us create some signage. We have signs down at the marina right now and around in the couple of the businesses on the reservation. What we do with our green crab at the moment is trench compost them in our community garden. We are looking at trying to maybe windrow them since we have so many. And yeah, our bycatch, I mean, we catch surf perch in these shrimp pots. I think we've caught a few salmonids, whether they survived not being eaten by green crab, I don't know. But mainly we get Dungeness, red rock, shore crabs, hairy shore crabs, purple shore crabs, sculpin. Those are our main bycatch in our pots. And we try to get everybody else out of the pot before they get eaten, or half the time they're mostly eaten. My staff are great, which I think makes things a lot easier. They work really well together. Our council supports us. The community supports the issue. We have a good relationship with the local entities out here doing the trapping on the ground. Pacific County Veg Management is one of our partners in a lot of things. Their guys help our guys and we help them when we can. It's a good community right now. I mean, I think the meetings and stuff is exhausting at the moment. We have a lot going on with green crab, but it's great to hear from other tribes and to coordinate with Sea Grant and others. We've been out. If anybody has or needs advice on anything, we're happy to go out there and help people on the ground or give them what we're doing and provide some training. So because we probably will be doing this, I don't know, I'm assuming until any one of us retires. Me, that's going to be a while. So yeah. And thank you. And this is me stuck. I'm not stuck. I got out of that, but I was just releasing the Dungeness back to their home. Stop share.